All right, welcome back to SportsLine, everybody. John Burton with you, taking your phone calls, 737-7767. Producer Courtney on the other side of the glass, taking your phone calls and screening them. Also, you hit me up on Twitter at NC5_John Burton. We will read your tweets on the air. I want your thoughts on the Titans. What is their number one priority for next year? In my opinion, it is fix the secondary with the wide receiver core not far behind. Speaking of wide receivers, head coach Mike Mularkey making some coaching changes today. The team parting ways with wide receivers coach Bob Bratkowski, as well as assistant wide receivers coach Jason Tucker. So already Mike Mularkey making moves amongst his coaching staff. And wide receiver is an area where the Titans need to improve. I would rank secondary slightly ahead of wide receiver. The good news is you still got free agency coming up. We're several weeks away from that. And, of course, the draft. And with some of the moves they made with the Cleveland Browns and some of the moves that they were able to make in last year's draft and still having a very solid, productive draft, you would have to think John Robinson would do more of the same in 2017. But your thoughts on the Titans, what they need to do to get better and to get over the hump and get back in the playoffs? So close this year, but they weren't quite able to do it despite a 9-7 winning record. First winning record since 2011. We have our first caller of 2017. It's Melvin on line one. Melvin, good evening.
Hey, good evening. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Happy New Year. Thanks for calling.
Thanks. My name is Melvin, and I'm a PSL holder. I've been there since when they first came here. I guess about 16 to 17 years since Fischer came here. Let me tell you something about these Titans. I'm glad to see they had a winning season this year.
Yeah.
9-7, I think. Let me tell you something. If we don't get a good wide receiver and get a running back, I'll correct that.
I was going to say, you got Derrick Henry and DeMarco Murray. I think you're pretty good at running back, no?
No. Let me correct that.
Okay.
Get a man can punt returner.
Okay, a kick returner. Okay.
This guy we got down here, he can't get the ball over 25 yards. I can't think of his name right now. The punt returner.
Did you talk about Mark Mariani?
Punt returner.
Mark Mariani, the punt returner?
Yeah, he can't get the man. He can't get the ball past 25 yards.
Well,
then let me tell you something. I'm gonna tell you something, and this ain't racist or nothing. Don't you think of him?
I think I know where you're going with this, but go ahead.
If you ever see a black guy swimming, I don't remember in my lifetime, and I'm 80 years old, I don't ever remember seeing one black swimmer. If you see a black swimmer on any team, any punt returner is white on a black stuff, you better get you some more. You better get you somebody. Ain't never been a black center, but I think one. If you see
a center, you mean the guy snapping the ball?
Snapping the ball.
Dwight Stevenson was a pretty good center for the Miami Dolphins. I believe he's in the Hall of Fame.
Just one, right?
Charles Bentley was a good center.
You ain't never seen a punt returner, white punt returner in no.
Oh, sure we have. There've been a lot. There have been a lot of them. And thanks for the call. I appreciate it. I didn't want to make this into a black or white issue tonight. But anyway, Mark Mariani, obviously, look, he was back there mostly to field punts. Obviously, his punt return skills in terms of breaking one. They weren't on display this year. Don't know if he'll be back or not, but the good news is if he's not back, I think there might be a good kick returner already on the roster in Trey McBride, a guy that may get a better look next fall training camp at the kick and punt return positions. So we'll see if Mark Mariani returns. He may or may not, but again, Trey McBride might be your answer, and then you don't have to go out and get a kick returner because you already have one on your roster. All right, before making his coaching changes today, Again, Bob Bratkowski, Jason Tucker, the Titans' two wide receivers coaches, let go today by the Titans. Before doing that, head coach Mike Mularkey met with the media on Monday, a day after their season-ending win over the Houston Texans at Nissan Stadium, giving them a 9-7 record. Here is part one of Coach Mularkey's season-ending press conference.
Difficult day to say goodbye to the players today in our last team meeting. Feel like we all should still be playing, and we're all going home. So difficult day, but a lot to be built off of from the season. I think our players understood that. I think they understood how close we were, and it wasn't about one game, one loss. Jacksonville, it was about things we did in those other losses that may have been the difference as well. So, but a lot of positives came from this season. A lot of positives came from this season.
Can you kind of contrast, the way you feel looking into this off season as opposed to?
Well, I think we're kicking it off hopefully, with a win in 2017, the first day of the year, against a division opponent at home. It's a nice way to go into an off season, but the nice part is, and again, I told this to the team, and I really was pretty adamant about it with the rookies after the team meeting, that they know now what to expect when they come back in here. Okay, we had half of a roster that was literally a new portion of our team, and really didn't understand, didn't know the expectations from us, and I think they know that now, and it's pretty loud and clear, and the message hasn't changed, and they know we can win with that philosophy. And having a year, again, that's one thing John and I talked earlier about. What do we have to do differently in this to win some of these division games? Well, if we get another year under our belt where we're in the same system, that they've been in systems for a number of years. Here's another chance for us to at least have a year under our belt.
How much satisfaction you take? Taylor's one of the guys that mentioned that this team kind of did what you wanted them to do, and how much satisfaction you take in that this team was able to. Well,
I think
follow through.
It was really credit the staff. The staff, really, the message has been very clear, and the staff was right on board with me, and so they saw how important it was for us, how we want to do things here, and I think they saw we have a very close staff, and see we want the same goals as they do, and I think that's why they responded like they did.
What have you learned from your previous head coaching experiences that paid off most this season in the way that you've led this group?
To persevere, ignore, my rookie year, we started off slow. My rookie head coaching year, we started off slow here, knew that we still could accomplish things. We still have a chance to make the playoffs, just like that year when we started 0-4 there. I started 1-3 here. And, we had a chance to go to the playoffs that year. In the last game of the year, we were playing to go. So I knew if we stuck with what we believed in and didn't listen to outside static, and they knew we believed in them, that we had a chance, even with a slow start. But again, you prefer not to start that way. Just like games, you don't want slow starts. You don't want slow starts to seasons as well.
A lot of good reviews for your staff. Couldn't hear from yourself. Do you expect any turnover?
There's a lot of things I'm probably going to say today we haven't had a lot of discussions on. And that's not because I don't want to tell you. It's just because we have a lot of discussions to move forward. So those things, again, this game just ended yesterday, less than 24 hours ago, and but those are down the line.
What was much cause for any change there, though?
There'll be discussions about that no matter what every year.
What was it about the style and maybe mindset both yourself and John brought to the building that allowed you guys to be successful?
It's what we believe in. It's what we've had a history of. It's easy to preach something you believe wholeheartedly in, and John and I, again, how it came about that John and I believe in this, practically everything of how we want to build a team. It's amazing how that came about, but it did, and certainly makes it a lot easier when having conversations.
Because of that, do you find it at all? I mean, last year at the time, certainly people questioned you getting the full-time job and John Robinson coming in. It's like, does it almost seem funny now that people question that as well as you work together?
It's just ironic, after one phone call, John, I know I stepped away and told my wife, I said, this can work out just based on one phone call. I think he felt the same way after one conversation, that we wanted the same kind of player. We wanted the same mentality when we took the field. It's very ironic.
To make the jump from 3 wins to 9 in one season, how fair is it to say that it even exceeded your expectations, Mike?
Well, unfortunately, I have big expectations every year. I mean, I do. I always have, and I always will. I believe we're going to win every time we play the game. I mean, if you don't have that, you're probably not. So I just felt good about us, especially after the offseason and after a good training camp with this football team, that we had a chance to obviously improve, but that was part of the plan, improve off these last 2 years.
Jason McCourty talked about for years hoping what they were doing would work and now believing. When did you know that this team believed in everything it was doing?
I'm going to have to say in training camp, and when we put the pads on, and we grinded them pretty hard. I mean, it was a physical, demanding training camp, and you're going to know if a team is bought in or not early on, and they did. And obviously, you need wins to support it, and that's eventually what happened.
Was it a challenge for you to still get the guys to believe after the 1-3 start and challenge in any way?
No, but it is. I'd say it is, but and I can go back because I've had an experience, and I can show them what the possibilities are because I've been a part of it, and I think they appreciate that. They see it's real. It's not something that you're hoping for. It's like this, even using my time with Chuck in 1989, I used that example of having to win 5 of the last 6 games to make the playoffs. I told these guys 5 weeks ago, we can win 4 of the next 5. We have a chance, and we did. We had a chance. It just wasn't the right 4 of the 5 that we won to get down to it. But they can take experiences from what I've had playing and coaching and see that it's a possibility.
What's it like for you, I guess, Mike, personally talking to the team for the final time, knowing that it's going to be a different squad?
It's difficult to say goodbye. It is to these guys. It's difficult because you can't even talk to them. I mean, literally about anything. Once today's over with, the dead period starts immediately. And so, it's disappointing, I think, for these guys. I told them this morning that there's 20 teams in team meetings right now having to say goodbye and move on to the next season. Maybe a little more difficult for us because, we beat 5 of the teams that are still playing. And that's the hard part about it. So a little tougher on us, I think.
Mike Mularkey, head coach of the Tennessee Titans, addressing the media on Monday, just one day after their season-ending win over the Houston Texans at Nissan Stadium. Titans finished 9-7 on the season, but come up short in their bid to make the playoffs. Let's check in with our buddy Bryan on line 1. Good evening, Bryan. Happy New Year.
Hey, Happy New Year. What's going down around town?
You tell me, man. You called me. What's up?
Oh, hey, listen, your other cohort down there, I was giving them a lot of grief about Mariota. You probably heard.
Yeah, I heard about it. You're the guy that wants the Titans to trade Mariota, which I think is ridiculous.
That was like, I wanted to do it because I knew that he was highly valued, and I just
Bryan,
I don't know,
Bryan, listen to me for 1 second. Bryan, hold on 1 second. I'm going to let you talk.
Yeah.
You follow football, right?
Yeah.
You watch the NFL.
Yeah.
You do realize that it's virtually impossible to win in this league if you don't have a franchise quarterback. You do know that, don't you?
Yes.
And you do understand that Marcus Mariota is one of the best young quarterbacks in the National Football League. I hope you understand that, don't you? Bryan, don't be that guy. Bryan, don't be that guy. Don't be that guy, Bryan.
I like the way he progressed through the season. I'm a little concerned about that injury. How bad is that injury? That's not a career-ending.
No, it's not career-ending. It's a serious injury. He's going to miss some time, but it is not career-threatening at all. He underwent surgery about a week and a half ago. The surgery went well. The prognosis is good. He'll be back in 2017.
What is with the perpetual problems with the secondary and historically the receiving core of the Titans hasn't been the greatest. We've always had great tight ends.
Well, secondary, I'll start there. You know, you need a number one shutdown corner. And as much as we like Jason McCourty, I'm not sure at this stage in his career that he can be that number one shutdown corner. He's a good guy that you want on your team, in your secondary, and in your locker room. But you need a number one guy that can shut down his half of the field and complement the rest of the secondary. Safety position, I think, is not bad. And corner position has got some potential for growth. LaShawn Sims, the rookie, I thought came on pretty well. But when you have guys like Bryce, McBride and Valentino Blake, I'm not sure if these guys are number one frontline starters. So that is something that's going to have to be addressed, obviously, in the offseason. And you look at wide receiver, Rashard Matthews had a great season. 9 touchdown catches. But beyond him, and Tajay Sharp had his moments, but he was obviously a rookie. He needs some more seasoning. You need a speed guy. You need a vertical guy that can get down the field, stretch the defense, draw the attention of the safeties, and leave your other receivers one-on-one. I believe the Titans will address both of those issues in the upcoming draft and/or free agency.
I was really impressed with the offensive line this year, the way they worked together. I was really impressed. I was impressed with the defense, except for the secondary. I was impressed with both the running backs. I was impressed with the way that one running back used to catch the ball out of the backfield a lot. I saw a lot of good things. I don't know. 9-7. Why? How come now? Houston made the playoffs because what they won.
Better divisional record.
The division, even though they both had the same record.
Correct. But yes. That's what happens. That is your.
Twice, and they split those, right?
Right. What happens is when teams are tied, the first tiebreaker is head-to-head. Second tiebreaker is record within the division. The Texans had and we're going to let you go, and thanks so much for calling. Texans had a better divisional record, therefore they win the tiebreaker and go to the playoffs, and the Titans are sitting home. Thanks, Brian. That was actually a pretty good call. I think we might have him turned around about Marcus Mariota. Keep your fingers crossed, people. Let's go to Doris on line 2. Doris, Happy New Year. Welcome to the show. Doris, you there?
My name is Doris.
Doris, do me a huge favor. Turn down your television for me and go ahead. What's on your mind tonight?
No, I have a comment.
Go ahead.
Even though we didn't make it to the playoffs, and even though we didn't beat our division teams, I still think that we did a marvelous job last year, and I'm proud of where the team is heading, and I just want everybody to just still support our Titans team.
Thanks for the call. There's nothing in that comment that I don't agree with. I am in tune with Doris in terms of the arrow pointing up for the Tennessee Titans. Let's hear what David has to say on line 3. Hey, David.
Yes. I'm just wondering if Murray and Henry were in this team, last season, not this season that just ended, last season.
3-13.
What do you think will be the record of the Titans?
All right, ask me that again. I'm sorry.
If running back Murray and running back Henry were in the Titans team last season. Not this season that just ended. What do you think will be the record of the Titans?
All right, are we assuming that Mike Mularkey starts last season as the head coach and John Robinson's the GM?
Yes.
Probably, I'd say, they go 3-13 that year? I'd probably say 7-9, 8-8.
Okay, because I was thinking.
Here's why, David, because the problem with Ken Whisenhunt, and there were a lot of problems when he was the head coach, the Titans had no offensive identity. Whisenhunt basically didn't want to run the ball, didn't want to establish a running game, and I think you've watched enough football to know that if you don't have an offensive identity, some teams don't run the ball. Some teams go 4 wide. When you have a Drew Brees or an Aaron Rodgers, you can do that. Like the Packers have no running game this year, but they've gotten red hot because Aaron Rodgers is arguably the best quarterback in all of football. What John Robinson and Mike Mularkey did when they came in, they established an identity. We are a power running game. We're going to improve our offensive line. You got Conklin and Lewan at the tackles. You bring in Ben Jones as your center. You improve your offensive line. You bring in power running backs like DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry. Now you have an identity. You have an established identity. And once you do that, it helps your offense, which helps your defense because they're not on the field as much, and you can win more games.
Okay, let me add something. I believe that I agree with what you said about Jason McCourty, and I will tell you something about Cox. The players that replaced them, who were more or less rookies, played better and understood better how to play the offensive wide receivers. So I believe the players, the newer players that replaced McCourty and Cox, they played better defensively.
I mean, LaShawn Sims did a nice job when he got in there. I think Valentino Blake and the other player whose name escapes me. I mean, they had their moments. They were a little shaky. Overall, the secondary has to get a lot better. You hope Sims can develop. We'll see if they bring back McCourty for another year. You're on the hook for him for $7 million if he comes back. I'd like to see him back. I believe he will be back because you need a veteran back there. But the secondary has to get better, and it starts with all 4 positions, both corner positions and both safety positions. We don't know if Rashad Johnson will be back. He's on a 1-year deal. Denoris Searcy's under contract. You figure he'll be back. But the secondary is, I believe, the #1 priority to improve, followed closely by wide receiver for the Titans this offseason. But we thank you for the calls. Some good calls tonight. Keep them coming. Your #1 priority for the Tennessee Titans. Now's the time to voice your opinion. 737-7767. Also, hit me up on Twitter at NC5_John Burton. I will read your tweets on the air. Would love to hear from you tonight. This is your show. This is a show for the Titans fans tonight. We're going to take a break, come back with more. Stay with us. SportsLine returns after this.